Can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45. This is the DOD45 Show, drawing over discussions 45 minutes with a special guest. Welcome. I'm your host and resident artist, Tai of ArtByTai, and with my co-host, Adrian Taiwali'i, we're having conversations with people who I admire and am inspired by. On this episode, I'll set a 45-minute timer, put my pen to the paper, and we'll learn about our guest through an interview-style discussion. So stay right here with us to experience some laughs and maybe even learn a thing or two. DOD45. Hello, fellow humans.
People of Earth. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DOD45 Show. Hello, Adrian.
Yo, Adrian.
Hi.
We did it.
Hey, welcome to the DOD45 Show, where you get to watch me draw while we have a nice chat with a special guest. And our guest today, we're very excited, is Kid Koala.
Well, Mama told Papa about something she heard. They said, look at him, Mama. I don't believe a word. She said, say, baby, what's happening? Live I told her.
Yeah, it is exciting. He is a god, basically. He's such a creative, inspirational person.
He really is.
Well, I'll wait for you. And I was only aware of some of his work, and then you were like, "Oh, you don't follow him on Instagram?" No. And then we see all this puppet stuff, and then you dive a little bit deeper, and you're like, "Did you know this, this, and this?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no!" And we're fans of all these things. Our whole family is a fan. Kids are fans. They were really wanting to come out here and say hi to him.
Yeah, he's pretty remarkable. And yeah, as far as all the guests that we have on the show, our kids pretty much don't want to say hi to any of them.
That's not true. They like old men. Just kidding.
We definitely want to be called old men. No.
I'm not an old man.
But yes, Kid Koala is our guest today. We look forward to having a conversation with him. Our hope is with our show is that you'll get to know our guests more personally through our discussions. And when I know when I get to know artists better, I tend to enjoy their art or their music much more. So if you end up liking our guest, head over to his website and see how you can support him. My theory is that if we don't support the arts, then then music and arts are gonna die, and that would be really awful for the planet and for our existence. Without art, we're a society of primates throwing feces at each other. To start it off, we've formed an alliance with UGS Mag or UGS Mag or Underground Sound Mag. I'm really happy about that. What transpires from it is anyone's guess, but the point is we're officially aligned with them, so I'm really happy about that. Follow us on Instagram at ArtByTai. That's where you see my posts regarding my artwork, and then also at DOD45W is where you'll find out posts about our podcast. Most importantly, though, before I get into some discussion with Adrian, subscribe to the ArtByTai YouTube channel, because that's where you're watching this, but subscribe to it so you know when new episodes are coming out, because that's important. Couple of things before I do the intro for Kid Koala. I will just mention that Slughead, the band Slughead, they have a new album coming out June 21st. For those of you who are new to the show, Slughead is a band that we're big fans of because they're our kids. It's my daughter who's 18, our daughter who's 18, and our son who is going to be 17 in November. Anyway, point is, they make music together, and they got a new album coming out. It's a very interesting album that comes out June 21st. This episode might be out after June 21st, but anyway.
Real quick, congratulations to our daughter Nale for graduating high school with high honors. So, yay!
Yeah, and she won first place at the art competition too
for her high school. Yep.
Boy, we got lucky, didn't we?
I feel like I worked pretty hard.
Well, of course, but yeah, I'm just saying.
But yes, they are. Don't give me that look.
Me?
No, our kids right now watching this.
Oh, they actually probably will be watching this episode because they're huge fans of Kid Koala. Oh, I don't have tons of information on it, but Sage Francis, who is a contributor to our show and also hosts the social media Lurk with Strange. Oh, sorry. That's my phone going off. Anyway, so Sage Francis has a radio show on it's an Rover radio station. I don't have all the details on that, but it's every Thursday at noon, I think. The radio show.
I can't. I saw it. I didn't
go to Sage Francis at Sage Francis SFR on Instagram, and he tells you where that's at. I just remembered that wasn't like totally in the notes, or else I would have had more information on that. But do go support his radio show. You're guaranteed he's going to be playing really cool music there. I did have this. Unless you had something specific you wanted to say.
No, I don't.
Did you know I don't know who I was on the phone with. Oh, it was Mr. Dibbs. Who, by the way, didn't get a question in.
You should just ask me, who was I on the phone with? And I'll just tell you. It's Mr. Dibbs. That's the only person you talked to.
He was supposed to get in a question for Kid Koala, but did not get it to me in time.
Oh, no.
He's busy. They're doing the whole thing with the Scribble Jam documentary. They're filming that. So, yeah, he's quite busy. But anyway, the point is, I was on the phone with him the other day. I did not know this, but did you know the Rodney King beating, that whole thing, that happened because of the movie Terminator 2, the movie production of Terminator 2?
No.
I haven't fact checked this, but
I was just like 9 or something when that happened. So I know of it, but I don't really know what.
I don't think many people know of this, if it's true. The point is, where that took place was where they were filming that opening scene in the bar, the opening scene of Terminator 2, when he goes in there and gets the clothes and then takes the motorcycle. So they were there, where they were filming at that bar. The production team had been there, like, I don't know, for like a few weeks or whatever. And the guy who, filmed the Rodney King thing with his phone, he had been filming that bar from across the street because he
had a phone with a camera on it.
Well, maybe it wasn't the phone. I'm sorry. It was with a video camera, but he was videoing who was coming in and out of the bar because, he was like, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger's coming out of that bar. And then just happened to have his camera when Rodney King got pulled over and then filmed that whole thing that changed our existence. Well, I mean, it changed. That was a significant.
No, yeah.
A lot of things came from that. I mean, the riot, like, just so much came from that. And it's just, I haven't fact checked that.
I don't. Well, fact check this. I don't like Terminator.
Oh, you bummer. Bummer. Terminator is probably one of the best.
The only thing I remember, it wasn't the one with the lady with 3 boobies.
No. Oh, yeah. That's Total Recall.
Oh,
that's a really good one as well.
Seems like that might be the same movie. Are they in space?
Yes.
Terminator?
Yeah, on Mars. Get your ass to Mars.
Are they in space?
They're not.
They're not in space on Terminator.
Get your
or they
ass
are.
to Mars. No, Terminator takes place in on Earth.
They got that guy that's so scary with his.
He comes from the future.
Scissor hand.
Yeah, he comes from the future. Speaking of movies, and then we'll go into this. 15. Did you know this? I heard this somewhere. 15% of the public are moviegoers. That's crazy.
I don't know what part of it's crazy.
It seems like everyone goes to movies. The reason I bring that up is like, that's just way lower than I imagined.
Well, it was definitely a part of 80s, 90s culture. Well, culture going, like my grandparents went, after they got married, they went to the movie. That was their big thing. They went to the movies.
Yeah.
So I think it was part of our culture until DVDs or streaming. One of them took it away. Netflix. What Redbox? What was the one that it came in the mail?
Redbox.
It feels like it all kind of started to disappear after
Red
that.
boxes still exist at some gas stations.
I know.
Yeah, that seems way lower than I would have imagined, because, which is kind of funny because I'm always talking about movies, and I'm always like surprised if someone doesn't watch movies. I'm like, how is that possible?
You live with one.
Well, that's true.
I will.
Would you have thought? Does that number sound high or low to you?
That sounds low, but
Yeah.
I support going to the movies, but I cannot commit to watching a nightly movie every night. You're like, let's watch a movie.
No.
I don't have 3 hours in me to watch a movie.
Well, yeah, I'm not all into the movies being 3 hours long anymore now.
Well, I'm like, I can watch 20 minutes of an episode of something and then I just go to bed.
If it's a great movie, I'll watch 3 hours.
But like on Sundays, we used to watch movies after, like your parents would have an early afternoon dinner and then we'd just watch movies the rest of the day. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was ready for that, but I can't do a nightly movie.
I love movies. I love them so much. I haven't fact checked. I learned that from a podcast that I really love called The Rest is Entertainment. If you like to get insight on like just really cool shit about books, music, movies, the industry, that's a really cool podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They're very knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned so much from those two. Anyway, that's a British one. It's called The Rest is Entertainment. All right, let's
give me one podcast you listen to that's not British.
The Independent Artist Podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got me. I thought I was going to stump you.
No, yeah. Okay, you guys. Well, we're running short on time. Surprisingly, we just flew into Utah for our daughter's graduation. So we got to the studio. I haven't been here in the studio for almost 6 months. I haven't been to my home in Utah for 6 months. So I had to come out to the studio about 4 hours ago and started like just getting things ready. And I'm still running behind on time. I don't understand this. Anyway, our guest today is Kid Koala. We're honored to have a chance to talk to our guest today. He's wildly creative, super innovative, hardworking, an author, artist, musician, theater producer, composer, you name it, he does it. Kid Koala, aka Eric. He's the man. Like seriously, there's so much that he does. It's unbelievable.
I think he's a very hard worker.
Absolutely.
He's very creative, and I'm glad that nothing seems to have been stopping him or holding him back.
Yeah, well, we'll find out if there is something.
I don't know, because he's pretty with it.
He is. His career began as a scratch DJ back in 1994, but he's so much more than a scratch DJ. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but you would. I don't know what from where he is now. It's interesting that that's where he began. Let me hit you with some facts. Okay. Kid Koala uses the turntables and visual storytelling devices to create his signature style through music, books, and live theatrical events. He's got an eclectic list of genres from hip hop, ambient, contemporary, classical, jazz, and blues. He's released 5 albums on Ninja Tune and 3 albums on Art and Craft Records. Now, listen, like a lot of this information I just take from his website and from Wikipedia, so I can give you actual facts. Because there's so much. Like typically, I would go through like my opinion of things, but I didn't want to miss like a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna rattle these out to you.
I put him on all the time when I'm just doing something studio.
Put his music on.
I just throw Kid Koala on the play, just Kid Koala only. Yeah, and it gets me through. He's so good.
Is he good?
He's so good. It's perfect. It's perfect Adrian music.
It is
constantly, especially like you throw on a little Del. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna say, take that as a major compliment because it's hard to impress Adrian. He's toured with the Beastie Boys, Radiohead, Tribe Called Quest, DJ Shadow, and the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Did you know that?
No.
Oh yeah.
In New Orleans.
Yeah. How great is that? He's collaborated with Del the Funky Homo Sapien, obviously. One of my most favorite things that came out I guess it was the 90s, early 2000s, was Deltron 3030.
Yo, it's 3030. I want y'all to meet Deltron Zero, hero, not no small feat. It's all heat in this day and age. I'll rage your grave, anything it takes to save the day. Neuromancer, perfect blend of technology and magic. Use my rapping so you all can see the hazards. Plus entertainment where many are brainless. We cultivated
that collaboration, that blew my head up when I was like just kind of discovering the Far Side. I was just coming out of like NWA, I was just coming out of like a lot of gangster rap at that time, and I was discovering all this new music, and Deltron 3030 came out, and it just blew me away. Anyway,
I think you were remembering that slightly wrong.
Am I?
But because we were listening to Harris. We were listening to a lot of other things.
You're right. I guess.
But you kind of pushed it together. But no, that Deltron album was incredible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Maybe that's what it is. It was just so different.
It was very standout.
Yeah, it totally stood out, and it's so great.
Our next guests are a hip-hop supergroup, and their highly anticipated sophomore album is entitled Deltron 3030 Event 2. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Deltron 3030. Kids, take it away.
Deltron Zero, your hero. In 3030, we ain't in the clear though. We was near toast doing too much, who to trust. In a land so scandalous and grand, even the president got his hand in the contraband. They done control the band of information, leading to education to your brainwaves pulsate. Let them forget the environment. For so long, the environment said forget y'all. Okay, now we in the cobra clutch. Once the plant fold up and blow up, you know what? Mother Nature must have saved us, cause look, we still stayed here.
And they're going to be performing at the Atmosphere show at Red Rocks, Deltron 3030. So that's that. I wish we were going to. I'm still trying to figure out how we can make that happen. It's the day before we go to the Rhymefest show that Atmosphere is also going to be playing at. But I would kill to see Deltron. I'd just kill to see Kid Koala live. I just would kill to see all that.
Oh, I know. I kept seeing that, and I didn't realize he was with Atmosphere on that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What I did is I kept seeing him posting that he was playing Red Rocks. I thought it was fully him. I didn't realize he was part of the Atmosphere act.
Yeah, it's It's Atmosphere's Red Rock show. It's a show he's done every year, and he brings new guest performers with him. So he's also collaborated with the Gorillaz, and he's even contributed on movie scores such as The Great Gatsby, Shaun of the Dead, Looper, Baby Driver, and Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which definitely got the attention of our kids.
Yeah, it was like their go-to movie. That and what's the Spaceballs one? Spaceballs.
I wish he would have collaborated on that.
It would have been a little too young.
He's also composed music for Cartoon Network, Sesame Street, and Adult Swim. He wrote and illustrated the graphic novels Nufonia Must Fall and Space Cadet. His live shows are likely amazing. I've yet to chance to see him live, but he's done some amazing things with his live shows, like the touring turntable carnival called Vinyl Vaudeville. That looks incredible.
Vaudeville. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for in my head the other day.
Or he also the multimedia show based on his book called Nufonia Must Fall. Nufonia meaning no fun, I think. Anyway, that's an adaptation of his graphic novel. It's a team of 15 people, including puppeteers, musicians, cinematographers, and technicians working together on stage to create this live animated graphic novel. That whole thing was under the direction of an Oscar-nominated production designer, K.K. Barrett, production designer on Lost in Translation, Where the Wild Things Are, and Being John Malkovich.
Wow.
Also Her. That's the other thing about Kid Koala. The people he's collaborated with are just out of this world.
They're incredible artists as well.
Yeah, they're all people at the top of their game. Anyway, the performance of that show is cinematically lit, filmed, and projected on a large screen above the stage. Kid Koala is accompanied by the Afaria String Quartet, and Koala performs the score on piano and turntables while the puppeteers bring the characters of Nufonia Must Fall to life in miniature sets built to recreate each scene from the book. That show has been touring for 4 years on 5 different continents.
Wow.
That's remarkable. He's also currently touring the Storyville Mosquito show.
So this is what we have going on here. We have 20 miniature sets. We have cameras, we have puppets, we have performers, including a string trio and myself. And we're going to make a movie up on that screen. Nothing is pre-recorded. We're gonna perform, film, live edit, project, score, and Foley, everything in one take.
That's the one I'm trying to figure out ways to get tickets. The only place we'd be able to go see it as in San Francisco, but our schedule does not look like it was working. But when I want something, I'm going to make it happen. Anyway, the Storyville Mosquito is a team of 14 performers bringing to life the tale of a young mosquito who's leaving his small town in the country to seek fame and fortune in the big city. The production incorporates miniature sets, live puppetry, cinematography, and obviously live music by Kid Koala alongside a string trio. Each show is also performed, filmed, projected, and scored in real time. I'd kill to see that.
Don't kill anybody.
Well, yeah, I know, but I definitely would like to see it. His recent album, Creatures of the Late Afternoon. Creatures of the Late Afternoon is 20 original Kid Koala tracks plus 8 board game tracks. The Gatefold album cover doubles as a board game, which came with game pieces, dice, and 150 game cards, including creature character cards, music genre cards, recording equipment cards, and studio time. And this is it. It's really cool.
Can you imagine all of the ideas he has that he hasn't done?
I know. But like a double vinyl.
Amazing.
As a board game. We haven't had a chance to play the game, but yeah, that's remarkable as well. His albums, Music to Draw To, Satellite, and that one's from 2017, and I.O. from, I think it's I.O. I might be pronouncing that wrong, from 2019. Those are incredible albums with genuinely terrific music to create to. In fact, for years, Kid Koala has been hosting Music to Draw To sessions, which initially started as in-person events to gather and create while Kid Koala provides soundscapes. It's now become a weekly Monday thing on his Patreon, and as long as he's not out on tour. But they're amazing. It's an amazing place to go for inspiration. I've recently joined the Kid Koala Patreon 2 nights ago. Was that? Yeah.
It was a couple nights
last
ago.
night. We joined, and I came up with the concept for his drawing while listening to the music.
Yeah, and as if he didn't already have me in the palm of his hand, then he had to go and play King Cruel on that.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, I give up. You win.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it's like 2 hours of just him playing music, and you listen along on Crowdcast. Anyway, yeah. So the drawing I'll be drawing for him today, I conceptualized while listening to his Music to Draw To session. Oh boy, he's waiting. He's such a busy guy. I hate to hold him up. Let me hit a couple of things. His album 12-Bit Blues from 2012 is one of my longtime favorites, being that I've been emotionally moved by the blues since I was a young teenager and carry very fond memories of time we've spent as a family in the Delta.
The kid is in rare form tonight.
Specifically thinking of Clarksdale, Mississippi. I'm pretty sure it's one of Adrian's favorite albums.
My favorites.
Yeah,
I listen to that one all day.
It's so good. I suggest all of his music, but just to point out a few specifics, check out his 2003 album. Some of My Best Friends Are DJs. That one's also got a lot of cool blues mixes and stuff in there. He said he's happiest when making gifts for people. Those equaled the moments he was creating something from the heart without any other incentive than to later share it and make a smile happen somewhere down the line. At age 5, that may have been something like a drawing or a little clay sculpture. When he was a teen, it may have been like a mixtape or a comic strip. In college, he made chess sets for his friends. And as an adult, it's evolved into making albums, graphic novels, live shows, film scores, concert experiences, and video games. I entirely identify with that mindset, and getting real deep in my research of Eric, that's Kid Koala, I've learned something new about myself. I've known myself for a very long time, and it's rare to learn something new, but when I do, I'm super inspired. And that revelation of the earnestness or sincerity that comes from when you're making something for someone, especially if it's someone you know, with the anticipation of them really enjoying it, that's a specific and magical feeling. See, he's got me saying words like magical, but I'm just so impressed with him and inspired by him.
Really good.
Yeah. Anyway, he says his intention is always the same in everything he approaches. The intent of making a present for someone, it's become a life quest of sorts, to just keep on finding ways to joyfully connect people. I'm excited to have him on. He seems like a real joy of a person. There's really so much more I could go on about, but I see we're running out of time. Obviously, we're out of time, and maybe it's best to let you go and discover him on your own. So enough out of my mouth. Let's meet our guest.
Yo, what's up? Man, this is a very special one. If you open your drawer and just look in your drawer, what's in there? Oh shit, what is that? Oh my God, it's a new episode of DOD45 with my man ArtByTai. You want to hear some legendary shit? Check out Kid Koala. Man, I haven't even heard this interview yet, but shit, man, I'm already like captivated and intrigated. So check it out. Kid Koala, yo, you're a legend, man. DOD45 ArtByTai Wall 1. Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45.
Well, welcome to the DOD45 Show. We're just going to jump right in. Thanks for joining us. It's a really, truly a pleasure to have you here. So
it's nice to be here.
Yeah, really excited to have you on.
Yes. Yeah. And I typically like to point it out to people that it's very hard to impress Adrian. But she's been really looking forward to this. So
I think you're an incredible artist.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
An incredible creative. Anyway.
Just trying to have some fun making stuff, you know?
Yeah.
That's the best way to that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I've been through the like self sort of torture artist way of going about making things, and I've decided pretty early on that that's not the way to do it for me, at least personally. So in general, like whatever project we're on, if we're not laughing every 5 minutes, at least in the studio or in the workshop or something, then we're doing it fine.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. I get asked a lot from like when I'm doing interviews based on my artwork stuff. People are always like, do you get inspiration from like the tragedy of art or whatever, one of those sort of things? And I'm like, no, I actually don't like to dwell in that realm. I'm pretty happy guy. I feel like I get most of inspiration from being happy. But it seems like that's the case for you.
I think so. I think, art, it always recenters me, whether it's music or drawing. Drawing first, actually, when I was a kid, even before I started piano, it was always just drawing on a placemat at the diner or something. When my parents knew if I was kind of acting up or getting fidgety, I'll just give him a pen. He'll kind of disappear in his own universe, and that's still totally kind of recenters me if things are kind of stressful in the day or whatnot. And you're like, okay, I can take some time and just like channel it into this piece of paper or spool of tape. That's how old I am. Or back onto this 4-track cassette or whatever. Nowadays it's other recording technology, but it's still the same thing, I'm just trying to get to that space where it just starts moving, something starts coming into focus somehow.
From nothing something becomes.
I think just real quickly, I think that's pretty great of your parents for back then. I don't feel like people did that for their children in situations like you're at the restaurant or something. It was more like, just like, in my experience, it was just kind of like, sit tight, wait, you'll go home later.
Get yelled at, finish your coleslaw.
So I think that's pretty incredible.
I think they figured it was a hack. I think they tried it on my younger brother and it didn't work.
Oh.
If he was fidgety, he just wanted to go do other things. But for me, I could always just entertain myself with some doodles or nowadays, if it's in the music studio, I could just disappear into that space
for hours. All right, I'll start this timer. That's how we get it going. So for the next 45 minutes, I'm gonna draw you a picture and we'll have a discussion. Nice. I was just saying in the intro, I came up with the concept of this while listening to the music to draw
session.
So
it
was fantastic.
That was an event we started in 2009.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's so cool.
15 years ago, I was finishing the Space Cadet book at the time, and I knew that I had several months of just solitary scratchboard time before me for me to just finish all the main plates for it. And I said, wow, that's a lot of time just spent alone. So I always listen to music when I'm drawing. So I said, well, what if we were to put an event together locally? And I knew a lot of artists and, from video game devs and coders and designers to playwrights to visual artists and even textile artists. And I said, hey, we're going to do this thing on Monday night. I'm just going to play a few hours of my favorite quiet time music that helps me get in the creative zone. And it was minus 20 degrees outside Montreal, which was very cold, obviously, and it was a Monday night. And I didn't know whether anyone would show up, but then there's like 150 people showed up.
Holy cow!
Yeah, with their other art supplies and stuff, and it was just a really kind of, I don't know, it was kind of this epiphany for me a little bit. I was like, oh, there can be this other use for music, even just setting the tone in terms of DJing,
right?
Something to do on a Monday night that's not necessarily on a dance floor or in a break cipher or something. And it was just I don't know. I guess we just pulled all the introverted artist types out.
Yeah.
And yeah, every week it just kept growing. Like by the third week, I think there were 650 people trying to get into a 150 person
Wow.
theater, and they would wait outside in the minus 20 degree weather with their art supplies, and we would kind of turn it around like a restaurant. So after a couple hours, some crew got up and left, and more people would come and fill the space. But there was this really palpable, focused, creative energy there that yet I basically left that evening buzzing. I was telling Corinne, my wife, I was saying I didn't think it would go that well. I thought maybe our real close friends would have showed up, but no, Montreal turned up. So
Wow.
it's cool. So we were doing that ever since, like every winter at least, in various venues, and then I took the event around to different cities, and during the pandemic just started doing sort of live stream versions of it, and have continued, obviously. So we're like 190 now, but
It's a brilliant concept because everything I do there has to be music playing. So right. I love the whole idea.
People are always shocked. They ask him constantly, like, where do you get your? He's like, I put on music and draw, like same exactly what you're saying, and people who, I guess maybe they're not creatives, they just really have a hard time understanding that
music makes the world.
That art can come, visual art can come out of music.
I mean, I can't think of any experience that's not sort of improved with music for the most part. Like even dining is better with music.
Oh no.
To me,
everything.
At least there's a perfect sort of soundtrack to each activity, I guess. In terms of drawing, though, I don't know. Like if you were to watch me draw, the weird thing about it is sometimes if I have to finish 6 panels on a page or something, and I'm trying to just keep that tone, I will literally just loop one song for 7 hours until I'm done. Which, I wouldn't do that at one of these events.
No, but for yourself.
But yeah, because I don't know. I guess I get so tuned into it that if all of a sudden, the tempo switches a lot, or the tension in the chords changes a lot, it'll affect how I'm drawing, a bit. And so music to draw to was always that. It started in the winter because it was like, oh, I just want to listen to more quiet, kind of focused stuff, soundtrack stuff, etc. And then, I mean, during the streams, because I had all my stuff home from tour, because there was no touring, we decided to just set up all these mini cameras on different modules in the recording studio, and then so Corinne could just sort of live video mix if I was just playing piano or looping something up on guitar and then adding turntable layers or whatever. Like, she would be able to put it together visually. Also, for those of the people that weren't drawing and were just kind of tuning in, wanted something to look at on the screen every now and then. So that's how it's been going. But we're excited to bring it actually back out to the real world at some point.
Oh, okay.
But for now, for now it's just been like, oh, if we're home from tour, then on a Monday night we'll just do these sessions. There's been a couple artists that have been there since the first one, and I think there's this one patron who's there because it's through Patreon, but there's this one patron that's been painting one painting, I think, and he does it within the 2 hours, and he finishes pretty much one painting, and he's probably done like over 100
right
80 paintings by this point. Is like, wow, okay, that's cool.
It's so great. I'm glad that I had seen it during the pandemic. I had seen that you were posting them, and I hadn't quite done anything. I hadn't signed on yet, but the concept of it is brilliant, because exactly like you're saying, when you're drawing something, you get in a specific mood, but like if the tempo or the wavelength changes, whatever you're working on at the moment, that can affect what you're drawing. And then so I used to just listen to a lot of this group called Silver Mount Zion, who I'm sure you're probably aware of. Yeah, they're one of my favorites, because usually the music's about the same kind of tone. But I am really, really happy that I finally signed up for the music to draw to, because it was just exactly what I need as an artist. Oh yeah, I appreciate you for that.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this thing to start. I usually try to do an arc to the show where there's a beginning and the end.
Sure.
The way I started out is like the start of the day. So if today was your last day on this planet, what would you have as your last breakfast?
I don't know where I read it, but it was this thing where it's like, oh, breakfast, if you're like a night person, which I am quite nocturnal, that you don't actually need to eat a big breakfast. Or at least I don't. So I had read, and don't quote me on where this came from. It was just information that just somehow, welded itself to my my daily schedule now. So I just drink a whole bunch of water in the morning.
Oh, water's brain food.
I have to this morning I had to bring my daughters to school. But other than that, I can come back and then just sort of slowly get my stuff together, because I do normally work into the after hours when I'm at home, like till I guess most musicians maybe speak to it. I never keep anything that I'm recording unless it's done after midnight. Like I can practice in the daytime, or I can sort of set up sessions, or write little bits, but usually the take that I keep is when everything's kind of quiet around me in the house, and I just sort of get lost in the hours and the after hours there.
Oh, that makes sense.
So so even if it was the last day, I would just, I assume I'm not really that big of a breakfast person.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, if it's the last day, you don't want to waste time with breakfast. You want to hurry up and get to making some music.
Maybe, yeah. But now I actually just crave water in the morning. It's so weird. Like if it's raining, I'm outside. I was speaking to my mother-in-law about it actually, and she's like, when we were kids, we didn't walk around with water bottles, and then it was the same for me in the 80s. Like my mom was like, make sure you drink enough water. I don't know what it is, but these days, I don't know.
I was raised on Kool-Aid and soda. I don't think I had water once in my life until I met him.
I'm a major proponent of water. Water is everything. Water is brain food.
Yeah. There's different types of water. There's bubbly water. We were just in Germany, and I couldn't read any of the, I could read it, but I didn't know what it meant. I recognized the letters, but they have all these different types of water that are different levels of bubbliness, and it's like, I just want still, and it's like, it says natural, so that must be still, and then I crack one open, busy, and then they explained to me, there's certain degrees of bubbles or size of intensity of carbonization, and I said, wow, this is way more advanced than what we have in Canada, I think, but
of course, the Germans manufactured something way more on a whole other level.
Once I was at Montreux Jazz Festival, which is in Switzerland. So I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom, and then it's water. So then I just decided to pour some tap water and drink. It's like, this is really good water. And then I went to tell the promoter about that. I said, your tap water is the best tap water. And then they pointed across the stream or the river or whatever. You see that mountain there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's Mount Evian. I said, what? It's like your tap water tastes like.
We pay $6 a bottle for that.
Yeah, but you miss it. Like Canadian tap water has a lot of like different minerals in it.
It's probably better than most of the water we get in the US, though.
I've never actually done like the taste test of tap waters from across the states, but maybe
probably don't.
People do that.
Probably don't.
Like grow a third arm.
You might. Well, some of it. We kind of have, just not meaning to, but like Texas, horrible. Florida, sulfur.
Yeah.
Okay. You get used to it, right? It becomes your water, right? And then you go somewhere else and you're like, this tastes different.
Our cat doesn't even like some of the water. She won't drink some of the water where we travel. So I think the further north you are in the US, the better. the better the water.
Yeah, she won't drink it. Yeah. So we'll ruffle some feathers right off the bat. Which is a better song, "Kids with Guns" from Gorillaz or "Kid A" from Radiohead?
Oh wow. I would say I've listened to Kid A from Radiohead more.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Good. I got
In
an
fact,
answer.
the version of I heard an acoustic version recently that that kind of deciphered all the lyrics or something, and the chords kind of floated to the top because of the production, and on the album version is quite electronic and muted, and you can't really pick out some of the words. And so when I actually heard what the song sounded like, it was like, whoa, that just gave me a whole other appreciation for it too.
Yeah.
I was always into the whole zone. There was a recently, I think, well, not that recently, there was My Bloody Valentine record. What's his name? Is it Kenny Feinstein, I think? He did like acoustic versions of the Loveless album, of the My Bloody Valentine Loveless album, which is also mixed in a way where you can't always hear all the words, and then it's all these awesome layers of fuzz guitars and those types of things. But then when I heard the acoustic version, it's like, oh, I actually could understand structurally the song, also what was happening there, and I kind of love both records now. And it gave me another appreciation for that My Bloody Valentine album, which I already loved, so yeah.
Isn't it pretty awesome these days, like especially with like YouTube and just like the amount of new stuff, people refiguring out music or even learning something about old music. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty cool space.
Yeah, you can always find an audience and for something like that. If someone's prepared to nerd out about something that hard, it's nice to know that there's at least 3 other people who'd be like, oh, finally, I wish someone would do this.
Yeah.
Breaking it down.
If you were to make the move to the US but could only live in either of these 2 spots, which would you choose, San Diego or San Francisco?
Which one's closer to New Orleans?
San Diego, just
barely.
Like it's
San
like
Diego.
an hour, an hour closer.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, I do think that at one point that's like a musical Mecca to me, New Orleans. And every time I've gone there, I've just sort of had its paradigm shifting experience. So I feel like I have to go down there and just musically just, it's like going to Dagobah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I gotta go just learn.
Listen and
play,
learn. Yeah.
And play every day. And that's some of my fondest musical memories from New Orleans. And so that town has my heart for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great place. And your music shows that's a place that you appreciate. Do you consider yourself proficient on the piano?
Nope. This is a true story. My first concert piano recital, I was 4 years old, and it was in this church basement, and it was more people than I'd ever seen in my life as a 4-year-old congregated in, these chairs. There's a grand piano up 3 or 4 steps on the stage, and I had to play, I think it was either Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something, and quite nervous about it. But my teacher explained to me, when they call your name, you just gotta walk, get out of your seat, walk to the middle aisle, go all the way straight to the stage, go up to the stage, then turn and then bow at the teachers. This is very formal. Mm-hmm. Bow at the teachers and then bow at the audience, and then sit down and play your tune. And, she said, just take a deep breath before you start and, just pretend you're at home and then just start playing. And so they call my name. This is exactly what I do. Go up to the stage, do the bow. Really super, super nervous. Get onto the piano. The bench is a little higher than it is at home. Everything looks kind of weird. It's like a grand piano instead of an upright. I was just kind of fighting myself mentally with it. And then I start to play, and it was like dun, 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 dun. You know, and then without like 4 notes, I already forgot what I was doing, and then I could just feel like the magnetism or whatever, just the pressure of all the eyes on me and ears on me. And my teacher, then I just heard her voice, her kind of relatively calming voice, just say, you know, Eric, at the recital, if you forget where you are, just take your hands off the keyboard and take a deep breath and then start from the beginning. And I said, oh, okay. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And I take my hands off the keyboard and, you know, put them on my lap. I take a deep breath. And I said, okay. She said, start from the beginning. What does she mean by the beginning? The beginning of the song or the beginning of when they call my name, when the beginning of the way, you know? And so I decided she meant the beginning, meaning like when they called my name. So I get up from the bench and then I walk down to my row, like total silence in the church, right? And then I get to the, you know, where the row where my parents are, my sister is, and I said, well, it doesn't make sense to shuffle in front of all these knees to get to my seat and come back, so I'll just turn around here. So I do a 180 from here, and then I slowly walk back up to the stage, and I bow to my teacher again, and I bow to the audience again, and then I sat down, and then I did make it through the song this time. Yeah, like
that's great.
It was just so the worst. Sweet. Can you imagine being a parent, like being in the audience and watching that? Your heart would just be so warm, like watching that happen.
I'm not sure. I think
a little 4-year-old.
My parents were as befuddled as anyone else because they didn't know that was like the instruction, right? To start from the beginning. They just thought like, what is up with Eric?
Yeah, you'd kind of be thinking like, wait, what did he just quit? Is he done? Or what's happening?
They were worried. They're probably worried and embarrassed at the same time. But it was, I mean, I remember my mom had made me this tuxedo for the recital. I don't know why this came into my head. It was just like she found this pattern. You know, she used to go to Sears and get patterns and then pick fabrics and so get dappered up for the big recital. So I think that's sweet. Plaid tuxedo with a bow tie and everything, like doing like 3 bows, playing 4 notes, you know. Not much has changed.
You just
you know where the start is now.
I think that's sweet. And also that's a lot of instructions for a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And
it's a lot.
I was literally shocked, deer in the headlights, about how many people were there. Because you play at home, your parents are there, maybe your grandparents are there. It's like 6 people. You can handle that.
Yeah.
You know, you get there, it's all the students, and each one of them have all their parents and siblings, and it's
a lot of eyes.
Madison Square Garden.
I can imagine.
You know, for my 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? I just started this instrument like 2 months ago or whatever.
Well, so which instrument would you rather be most proficient in, the piano or the drums?
I think piano is probably where I'm most like comfortable. It is still my first instrument.
Yeah.
And even though you do have to use your feet on the, you know, the damper and the sustain pedal and stuff, it's not as much of a, you know, full body coordination thing.
Right.
You know, I kind of gravitated towards turntables because all my other friends were like just straight, like, oh, we're hitting the linoleum, we're just gonna do the b-boy thing and like doing all these things, and I just never had that kind of like foot coordination. You know, so I was like, I was much more comfortable, maybe because of piano. I was like, had the dexterity, you know, from piano or the hand independence or something. So I was like, oh yeah, no, turntables, you know, I think I can.
That makes sense.
Figure it out a bit. And I just feel more comfortable when there's just like, you know, a few $100 worth of equipment. A fort. In Canada, it's like a snow fort, you know, in the winter. But if you're on stage, it's like I need my little
Yeah.
Yeah.
my little
I think
bunker.
it's your own little cubby.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Nice.
Just being a dancer with a spotlight on you. Wow.
Yeah. I have heard some drummers say that that's why they went with drums in the first place, because they felt like they were safe behind the drums. Like it was kind of like a barrier from the audience. I have heard that before.
It's like a hug from Ludwig and Sabian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't allowed to. I would like to play as a young child, like say for instance, acting up at a restaurant and either just grabbing the forks and like tapping the plates and just getting bored, and then my mom's like, no, here, give him a pen.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, having drums around's too loud.
well, exactly. Like when I was in elementary school band, I mean, we just had this discussion with my daughter this year because she had to pick her instrument, and I remember, my mom said, we think you should join the school band. I'm like, cool, because all my friends are going to be in the school band anyway. So I was like, yeah. She's like, what instrument do you want to play? I'm like, I want to be in percussion. Like all my friends are like kick drum, snare drum, or bass drum, snare drum, like cymbals, whatever, any of those things, right? And she's like, no.
Oh, because she don't want you bringing it home.
She's like, I think you should play a woodwind instrument. And I'm like,
no.
why? And she's very like pragmatic. I think, yeah, clearly it was because they just wanted to have a quieter house.
Yeah, some silence in the house.
Yeah. But then she's like, I think you should think about woodwinds, and so, I was like, all right, cool. How about saxophone? So like, big breath. And she's like, no, how about like clarinet? It's lighter and it's not as okay, fine. So she kind of like incepted the idea of playing clarinet.
Yes.
And that was like kind of where most kids were just like, yeah, it's just this little thing you can rent from the school or whatever. It's not like this huge thing that you have to like put a sidecar on your moped to get it home. Basically, at the time we joined the band, like all the kids would join the band because there's this one school trip where we would go to America. We would go to Bellingham from Vancouver. And we would play in the mall. And we would have like a whole day trip, and then we could food around the mall or eat at the food court or something. It was like a highlight of the whole year. Yeah, it was a big deal. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll learn to play clarinet. But then I never really continued on that instrument after elementary school. Because by high school, then I kind of was introduced to that whole turntable scene and just sort of went that way. It's not until like Storyville Mosquito, I actually have to play a reed instrument at a couple moments in the show. And so I'm glad I had a little bit of experience with it before, but by no means am I proficient at that whole section of the orchestra. It's still dabbling there.
I wanted to ask you, because you do scratch a lot of harmonica, or not a lot, but in your pieces. I was going to ask, can you play the harmonica?
I can play in terms of, no, I wouldn't try to have me guest feature on any like songs, you know what I mean? But I think I can squeak out enough notes that will fit in what I need it to fit into in terms of a track I'm working on. So say on Creatures, like sometimes it would just be a 2 or 3 note run, and then I would play that, and then mic it, distort it, record that, and then cut that to vinyl. And then once it's on vinyl, then it's almost my comfort zone, because then I was like, oh, it's here, I can bend it into even 3 other notes out of these first 3 notes, and then it gives it that kind of surreal push-pull thing that I liked about, always loved about scratching it anyway. So to me, like a lot of the instruments in terms of how I use them in the studio right now is just to create those source vinyl that I can then scratch and juggle and reassemble into the tracks. So
to your comfort zone.
Yeah, but so if I had to actually like play a solo on something, then I would still say like turntables probably the one I practice the most, and then piano after that. And then everything else is just like, I know the tones I like, and I can learn the chords, that I can, but I'm not trying to become a guitar shredder or anything.
Right.
Like that. Sometimes it's just like,
But you can use it for yourself other than like having to, you can be like, oh, I've got this idea. Let's do this. Let's put it down. You don't have to call somebody else and try to explain it to them to do it. You can.
Especially during a pandemic. Yeah.
Right.
They weren't even allowed over. And the whole idea of like pen pal production I did grow up kind of playing in bands, school bands, but then even in college, like playing in a band in an ensemble as a DJ, scratching with live instruments and stuff. So that the idea of just doing stuff live and having people in the room making the music together, I've always known the magic and the joy of that. So
right.
So really it became more like the idea of doing these kind of more layered turntable focused records is a little bit more of a mad science laboratory thing, and less like let's just like play, run it 3 times, everyone kind of congeals into their parts, and then we record it. It's a lot more sort of experimental in the process, but it takes a longer time, but it's also equally exciting for me.
Yeah.
But I do know what's missing from it. I miss both sides. So sometimes the difference is like, it took me several months to even just find parts and practice and learn how to bend the melodies I was hearing out of these records, and then say, okay, now it's time to do it live. Well, how do we do it live? Is there's only have 2 hands, So I remember the first couple times, like on the Carpool tour or on some of my best friends or DJs, I brought DJ P-Love from New York. I brought DJ Jester from Austin. We had 8 turntables on stage, and we kind of assigned it like a band would, in terms of, okay, well, these solo turntables in the front, that's where we scratch the vocals and the lead things, and then the side pairs of turntables are like keyboard and bass, and then on where Jester was, he was we had 2 turntables up on a riser, so he was kind of like the drummer, and it was one of those situations where it's like, I actually needed for us to do a live one-take version of this, it would require more arms and more turntables running at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's really part of the fun of doing live shows after you have these records where you're just layering things slowly, But I remember like doing Basin Street Blues. So after this comes back to New Orleans, after
that's one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you. Well, my father said, "Hey, Eric, when I signed my first record contract with Bingen, started traveling around, and my father called me and said, look, if your travels ever bring you to New Orleans, just make sure you stay for a few extra days and just go see as much live music as you can there," and which I did, And I remember every band that I saw played a version of Basin Street Blues, and so it was just ringing in my head. And then when I was at the airport flying home, I was just sitting waiting for the plane to take off, and I said, I don't know what my next album's gonna be, but I know the first thing it's gonna start with is a turntable version of Basin Street Blues, But then I got back to the studio, and it's just I'm alone,
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I remember even like scatting the bass line, like just on a microphone, just going doom 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 doom, just walking all those notes, and just as a kind of a guide track. And then after I would, I found just a clean, upright bass note being plucked on a record, and then I was just practicing bending it into these other notes. And then so I did that and did the whole bass take, and said, oh, okay, well, we need like the trombone, and we need the banjo, and we need the trumpet line and everything. And I would just try to find those a cappella, like long held notes on records, like classical records mostly. I could find just one clean, and then just learn how to bend it into something that could, dance around the chords from Basin Street Blues. And I just remember like it took several weeks to even just find the sources, and then practice bending it and getting it all together. And at the end, I was like, well, yeah, it sounds like bassistry blues on turntables, but it's not jazz. Like, to me, I've always known that jazz to me is like, oh, it's just everybody like cooking at the same time and, you know, staying out of each other's way and you know, playing off of each other's, you know, it's like a real live conversation. So I knew this was like the Loner's turntable version of the song. but the actual the kind of happy ending to the story, I guess, is like my cousin Monk did an animated video for it, and we put it out on YouTube. And then several months later, like, we get a call from Preservation Hall, and with an invitation to come play at Preservation Hall. And I said, what are you talking about? You're Preservation Hall. It's like trad jazz. Like, you're supposed to uphold the tradition. Like, I already, like, if you're talking about imposter syndrome, like, what are you talking about? Like, I'll come see you guys. But and they're like, no, we want you to show us how you bend notes on your instrument. And we just want to, like, you know, get that conversation going. And so I went down there to play, and they had actually put, for the first time, I think, a little, like, a home 1950 style pull down projector screen.
Yeah.
You know, that you'd watch old home movies on.
Right.
It's a tiny place. I don't know if you've been to Pres Hall. It's like a tiny little 80 person room. People sit on the floor. There's no amplifiers.
Right.
Oh my, it's super intimate. And they start screening my video, and then so everyone's watching it, right? And then at the end of it, the band starts walking in, and they're playing over my version, and they kind of lift it up.
Wow.
And I was literally just crying, like happy tears, like just streaming down. Like, this isn't happening. Like, what is going on? You know, this is the Sweet Emma record that my father had from his, you know, spiritual experience, like experiencing live jazz at Pres Hall, like 20 years earlier or whatever. And here I'm doing that. And so it was like a really, it was just like such a memorable moment.
Yeah.
Did your dad have a chance to? Well, your dad didn't happen to be with you when you went down.
No.
But
here's the thing. Like, my good friend and manager Rena, she was like, "Hey, this is like a big deal for you, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is like, I haven't been that nervous since my first piano recital. Like, I just couldn't disgrace like, I just can't get up there and still have to like do what I needed to do on the turntables, but then be able to hang with these cats like who are just on this complete other level." And I feel like, you know, I've said this in other interviews, but I feel like I've learned more from playing that one concert than I did from DJing by myself for like 10 years. You know what I mean? Because they would, at one point, Ben told Charlie, look, the clarinetist, to just throw some licks at me, and then I had to kind of respond. So it was like a call and response, and I was just trying to keep up with them. But even the stuff that was coming out of the instruments, I was like, oh, okay, well, what can I do that sort of that follows that line a bit and responds a bit, but, you know, also has a turntable twist to it. And I said, oh, there's certain things I need to practice, just because you think about it, you think turntable, it's a future instrument, it has like a million possibilities, which it does. But then here are these instruments that played by these masters that have all that nuance, and just how they would like trill or do certain like buzzes on the reed or on the horn, or mute it, or all these things that they could do. And then I was like, oh, actually, you know, there's not even the actual way to do that on a turntable that I could and had my brain thinking like, oh, I have to go have a chat with some mixer companies after this, because I think there's some expression things that aren't even built into the instrument at the moment, you know. And so that's all I'm practicing now. These are just trying to get more nuance and direction of expression through that, you know. Hear these centuries old instruments sometimes, you know.
Do you have you met with like manufacturers of mixers?
I had, I had a really great meeting with Rain, actually. This was several years ago, with some of the designers there, and I was explaining to them what I was thinking and giving them sort of examples. But at the end of the conversation, they were like, how many people besides you would actually use this? And I said, 5. And they're like, the R&D alone on the pivoting pressure sensitive crossfader you're thinking about is like we can imagine doing this.
Yeah.
But in actuality is like, I guess, they have to think about how many what the actual market is for something like that. So
but it could spawn, potentially it spawns a whole new way of people operating.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure I'm gonna meet somebody from like, some kid from MIT who wants to do something for a thesis. We might be able to like have a conversation about that, because I understand like there's the market of DJing. Well, most DJs are, if they do this, then the mixer's gonna cost like whatever 100 times more or whatever. And so, but anyways, like that night, Rena, my manager said, you should document this for your dad and just for the story, because when is this ever going to happen again? I said, you're right. And so we flew in this camera crew from, I think they were from LA, a 3-person camera crew, and they set up this like XY mic at the back of the room, which is a small room still, maybe it's like 500 square feet or 600. I don't really know, but it's pretty small.
Yeah, small.
And they had like 3 cameras going, and so they filmed the whole thing and recorded the whole thing. And then I listened to the recording afterwards, and Ben, who was the musical director there, had invited Jude Law to the show.
Oh,
whoa! And
Jude, I think he was there filming something in New Orleans, a film. It might have been Talented Mr. Ripley, maybe that.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think timing, I'd have to check the dates, but
right.
He was there working on a movie, and he shows up, and he was in the back of the room. My wife, then pregnant with our first child, had a star crush on him, right? Like, oh no way, really? This is like my premiere thing, and Jude Law's here, like talk about like taking it. So regardless, we're listening to the tape after, and Jude, bless him, was he was really, really excited about what he was seeing, and whoever he was there with, he was like explaining what I was doing, like, and he actually could follow. He was
okay.
So through the whole recording, there's this kind of running commentary from Jude Law.
That's great.
The person he's like, no, you don't understand. He's playing free turntable. It's like the crossfader. It's right when it's on this side, you hear the sound from that one.
Wow.
So he was. I'm thinking about it now, and it's actually even better than if we just got a clean recording, because it has Jude Law talking all over it, but really enthusiastically. So then someday I'll meet him, and I'll be like, hey, maybe
that's great
or whatever.
Yeah, so he was standing kind of by where the microphone was set
literally
up.
like right on, like he's like kind of the loudest thing in the
That's
mix.
great.
But
that's fantastic.
So that has never been released, obviously, but someday, maybe someday I'll meet him. We'll have a laugh about it.
Can I ask real quick? Did the Preservation Hall thing inspire the kind of the stuff you're doing now with the live?
With the Storyville Mosquito? Absolutely. I mean, timeline-wise, Storyville Mosquito, the character and the whole kind of story arc had already been written in 2003, like a few years prior to that, So I was working with my friend Louisa Shabas, who was building these, I'll show you. They're kind of up there.
Oh yeah.
Like
kind of.
These kind of like little models and stuff, and we're gonna do it as a as a photographed graphic novel. So every panel in my storyboard, we were going to build the set and take a photo of it, and then lay it out so that it read like a comic book, but it was all real sets and real, characters in there, which was obviously like a years-long project. I have an idea already, so we were kind of slowly tapping away at that, and well, that story is about a mosquito who moves from the country to the big city to try to join or try to play in this band at the world famous Sid Villa's Music Hall or whatever. So there was definitely a lot of parallels already in it, but I guess again the happy ending around that was like, wow, in real life, to be invited to go there was just such a great honor. And yeah, I'm still gotta pinch myself when I think about it. And my dad too, especially, he was like, what? Like, you the kid who took 3 bows at his first piano recital?
Now you got to do that. You should turn that into just do it at every show.
It was definitely, the idea of the befuddled audience sound. I don't know if you know that sound too. I know it quite well. But yeah, like a whole church basement, maybe 200 people just going on, like a little chair creak here, and as this child walks sort of back to the seat and back up to the piano.
You were really just practicing the encores.
That's right.
You're just way ahead of your time.
I don't know. I'm really not into encores, actually.
Me either, but now they're doing cool stuff with them, though. I mean, I guess not cool and stuff. The last few shows I saw, they were just like, this is where we usually do the encore, but
right.
Oh yeah, was that Far Side?
That was Far Side.
They were like, we're too old for this shit. Here's your extra song.
Yeah.
The best is like sometimes you're in a venue where there's like just a tiny wing, or maybe just a bit of a leg of a curtain there, so that you gotta fit like the whole band is like get out of sight line, but you're like, no, I still see someone in the side balcony.
It's awkward.
Like the door to the dressing room's actually like down some stairs up
Yeah.
Everyone just
hide.
So I got about 50 seconds on this timer, but then we'll go into the dish. I know there's just not enough time. I wish we have
more time. I mean, I have.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Okay.
I don't have buck 65 time because I do.
Okay.
But we can hang for a bit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I felt so bad because buck 65 was such like Adrian, and again is another buck 65 is another big one to Adrian, but yeah, that time was coming up, and I kept thinking like we got to get him out of here. But then he would tell these really great long stories. I was like, oh man,
he's got amazing stories. No, he's one of the scene's great storytellers. Absolutely.
Yeah,
he really is. But I do want to make sure we get to we have Sage's social media alert. So Sage Francis has a question for you. Let's hear from Sage, and then we'll get a couple of quick little questions, and then we'll do the dish with you.
Peace, DOD45 Show. Strange Famous in the house. Hey, Kid Koala. I did lurk your social media and also go through videos, and there's been several mentions of your mom, your love for your mom, which is a beautiful thing to see. It's like not as common as it should be in hip hop. I just want to say I appreciate that. And what I'm going to say right now, you guys have probably already discussed in the interview thus far. But when your mom said that, she wanted you to be a surgeon due to your steady hands, I kind of relate to that because my mom was like, she wanted me to be a physical therapist. And I feel like her expectations were way lower than your mom's were of you. But also, did you guys ever really delve into the whole surgeon thing or look into it and be like, it takes more than a steady hand. You kind of got to be a psychopath to be a great surgeon. You could have been a hand model with those steady hands. What other kind of careers do you think you could have really excelled in with those steady hands if DJing wasn't an option? All right, brother. Best wishes to you. Much love from Strange Famous family.
Look at mom, no hands. I built a suit of armor with wooden arms.
Nice. Well, there you go. There's your question.
I love that question. That's a really good question. Yeah, first of all, I think some background on my mom. She is my number one fan. Despite all the crap I do give her sometimes when I tell stories, she's like sort of my whole DIY ethos, because it comes from that at first, mainly because she was an accountant, and they didn't have much money to kind of spoil us or anything. So sometimes I would see something like, oh yeah, look at that thing, and see it at a toy store. Like, oh, that'd be awesome to have, but she would always find some way to like make a homemade version of it.
Oh yeah.
And she, like I said, she could sew, she could make clothes or something. Right. And it wasn't about clothes. Like I remember once there's this rhinoceros puppet that I saw, and I was like, this is cool. And she's like, oh yeah. And then I could see her kind of check the price and but she still would she'd go to the fabric store and she'd find this way, and she'd sew really quite professionally, so it looks like something you could possibly buy at a store, or at least at a high-end craft fair or something. So she would she's the one who kind of taught me that. It's like, oh wow, and I think about it now, that has so much more value to me that my mom actually made it, right. Then it was like, oh yeah, and then they got that for me for my birthday or whatever, like so. And she used to collect all my drawings. Like, I have it here, I'll show you. And I'm so glad she did, because I would have just thrown all these out, but she collected all my
that's so
cool.
great. Yeah,
like she
look at the binding.
Like stitched it together, and she dated everything.
She made a scrapbook.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
If you see, it was like made out of a Safeway bag.
Yeah,
bag.
right.
And so, but she was always supporting the art. Like, I don't want to make it sound like she was anti falling art. I think because she was an accountant, she's like, well, are you gonna be able to like support yourself doing this? She didn't want the kids to have to sort of
as
have
a
that
typical
kind of same stroke.
Typical caring parents do.
Yeah. So that was more. It's like, well, yeah, you could be a good surgeon or dentist or something. But I don't know, like what does a steady hand? I mean, nowadays you got 3D printers, so like, what does it even matter now? I mean, I guess I could be a good like cake decorator, maybe. I don't know. Like,
right, yeah.
Well, you'd probably be able to take joy out of that, like cake decorating.
Maybe. I mean, I probably got fired because I didn't want to eat them. It's like, let me just try this.
So you make yourself a small one to base the big one off of.
Right.
Eat the small one.
My daughters love that show, the cake battle, all the cake battle. The Bake Off, but then there's like Nailed It. They also love that. They love all those, any baking stuff. They're like all over. I can't bake for anything, like.
That's okay. You're doing bigger things.
No.
Yes, you are.
I think there's.
You're making music for me to bake to. So.
All right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of daughters, I do want to get it in. My kids said to warn you, they're coming for your job.
Okay, cool.
What?
You have some sort of connection with all of my daughter's favorites, and she wanted me to point them out. Well,
okay,
Edgar Wright, but I know you did some stuff on that, and then Damon Albarn, and they're just super excited that you're on the show.
Cool.
But my daughter did want me to ask how or what exact steps they need to take to end up where you're at. My answer was work hard.
Well, definitely that, but I think if you're doing something that you're just genuinely interested in and having fun learning along the way, like, I think your best work is always ahead of you, and you can be your own worst obstacle. So I think part of it is just about doing it, like enjoying the process, like learning for young scratch DJs, for instance, when they're asking, it's like, how do you, they want to sound really fast and doing everything on, 30-second notes and stuff like in one day. And I said, actually, if you learn it slower, even half or quarter time, and practice that for even 10 minutes, you'll be able to double and quadruple your speed after, because your coordination's kind of locked in after that. And sometimes they just try to do everything really fast and get frustrated that it doesn't sound a certain way or look a certain way. And I think with any sort of craft or art there, it's just find those things that time kind of disappears on, stick with those, and then have fun along the way, and you'll just incrementally just keep evolving,
Yes.
And as far as like, I don't know, I mean, I get not bored really easily, but I think sometimes it's good to jump into another project that's like outside of your comfort zone, but then realize that everything that you have learned or you bring with you to that, and then in this new place or in this new project, you're going to actually learn new things, and then you take that and bring that with you, and it's just the growth thing, so not to be scared about that, like, I mean, we can talk about it in terms of different instruments, or you can talk about it in terms of jumping from visual art to audio art to video art to live theater to whatever. There's certain, I don't know, not patterns, but I think there's certain kind of rules of balance or harmony that seem to exist in all of those things, and a part of it is like, if you kind of know that, then you can start to identify what those are. What makes a good breakfast. It's the same thing that might make a great song, even though, well, I guess they are both time-based experiences, but it's one of those things where it's like, composition of a frame, in a film and a painting, and balance of EQs in a song. It's like there's certain rules underneath it that do apply. And then when I started seeing that, I was just like, okay, I'm less afraid to just try, see what'll happen. And sometimes the fun part is you surprise yourself because you're doing it kind of from a different perspective, or from a different experience, and sometimes cool things happen that way.
Do you feel like maybe that's why you have your hands in so many different projects and stuff, is because of I understand, I guess maybe boredom is, I guess
it's not boredom, it is yeah, I can't really say I'm bored right now because there's a lot to do, but I think what I'm learning is the learning is the fun part, and that keeps me alert, keeps the antenna up, it keeps me kind of focused, so I don't kind of go into too much of an autopilot with it. And I think
the intrigue, because when you are doing something for so long, boredom probably isn't the right word, but you do get sort of stagnant because you're used to just doing what you do.
Right.
But by taking on new things, or new things that challenges your abilities, that gives you that new inspiration again. Like when we say, when young artists are coming up, they're full of that inspiration of like what's to come. Their aspirations are incredible. That's usually when you get your best work.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a believer in terms of, especially with at least telling my kids, like, I don't think you need to silo what you're doing. Yeah, you have to put in all the time you need to put in to get with it. But if you're interested in these other things, you should try them too, because they'll actually make you better at the thing you're mainly trying to do also, because you have another perspective on it from another side. Like, I remember we were on tour with Nufonia Must Fall, and the director, KK Barrett, who's a production designer for like all my favorite movies, like Where the Wild Things Are, and Her, Being John Malkovich, and Lost in Translation, etc. So we were having a talk, I think, at one of the schools, and these were college film students, and they were asking, what's your advice? Like, what do we do when we get out of here? Like, how do we pay down this loan? This kind of thing. And he basically said, it really struck me too. Because, well, the first thing he said was, well, I didn't go to film school, so I got to laugh, but then also it was kind of depressing after then he kind of pedaled it back in a great way where he said, you don't actually have to go intern at some like film company that you admire or whatever and like make coffee and do all that stuff and try to get in that zone. Like those crews already have everybody in place. You could be a fly on the wall. You might learn something from it for a bit, but really his advice was you just got to start doing it, getting and just making your own stuff. And really the people that you're going to be working with are all around you right now, like literally sitting in this room or in your city. Like you don't have to move anywhere to do, you don't have to, it's just like, just start getting your experience and start telling, those stories. And that really struck me because he started saying, jump way outside of what you think your quote role is in the production in terms of, say, if you're a director or you're a photographer, he's like, try modeling. He's like, if you're a dancer, try composing some music. It's not because you want to be a composer. It's because in doing so, you're going to understand that point of view, and you're going to be able to communicate with a future composer better. You're going to find the people that you get or have a common or harmonic vision with and be like, oh, work with that. And so his advice basically was like, don't be afraid to like go in front of the lens if you're behind the lens, so even for me, like I haven't done that in all the projects, but I'm aware of it. I'm trying to pay attention to learning about things like when we were working on the Floor Kids video game or something like that. I went in like mostly music and then, some creative direction here and there. And then, but not understanding the coding aspect of it. There were certain things that you might think, oh, this makes sense. Why don't we do this? But then from a coding perspective, it's like, oh no, you don't understand. That's going to break all these branches. And then the game like falls apart and it won't work and won't even turn on. And you're, in my mind, I'm like, what do you mean? It's a computer. It can't do everything. But then when I was watching them, they were explaining to me, I got a little like clearer, so that it's like the communication with it. It's like, okay, what is possible? Here's what I think, in terms of the feeling, like, how do we make that happen, in terms of the game,
It gives you a better understanding of what you're doing.
Absolutely. And if I had the time during that project to be like, cool, let me try to write a couple of lines of code before I like say, okay, let's do this. Same thing with the animation movie we're working on now. It's like the first CG animation. And you could, I can say something, oh yeah, I want this like sort of like, plate of cookies to fly this, and then the blocks kind of fall, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, 4 days of somebody trying to like do that. I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna take 4 days, dude. I just thought it would be funny, And so now that I know that, I'm kind of like, oh right, because I asked some of the animators that have completed all their shots. It's like, what was your favorite? What was your least favorite thing? It's like, oh, we hated the crab or whatever. I'm like, why? It's such a cute character. And they're like, yeah, but, and then I went and watched, what you had to do is like, oh, every single like tip of every claw or whatever, like they have to make sure it doesn't break the surface of whatever. And it's just so fiddly, and it's like, there's so many legs. I'm like, but it looks cool, but I didn't quite realize it.
The amount of work that goes
sometimes
into
you're like, oh, doesn't it just do it?
You just push play and it just
I mean, I didn't understand about CG. Like now I know it's even more difficult than live action. You know what I mean? If you're gonna
that's what
think about it. It's like
been hearing.
Yeah, you have to
like even hairs on a thing that all moving. Like
hair,
that all takes
water, refraction and of light and all that stuff. It just they're like, yeah, okay, we could do that, but then it'll take like 3 hours to render one frame, and there's 12 frames in a second, and there's however many. You know, and I'm like, whoa, okay. But it's interesting, yeah.
It is. It's super interesting.
Have fun.
And great advice, because
my advice is just have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have fun doing that. Like, don't be afraid to just have fun, because when you're having fun, you might be practicing your however thousands of hours, but it won't feel like that. It won't feel like work. It just feels like slow progress, and you do like have to kind of understand it on a baseline technical level before the creativity sort of can start manifesting itself also, you know, like some things. Say you pick up an instrument, it's just like, I just need to know the mechanics of what these things do, right?
Yeah.
And then once you kind of understand that on a core level, then you kind of, you know, breathe through it or whatever. And so
I feel like a lot of young people who are coming up are trying to figure out what they do. What they forget, one of their commodities is, especially if they're young, is there's less to lose. So it's like a great time to really try on as much as possible, because you don't have as many bills or finances, you know, things that you got to worry about. That's a good time to start.
Absolutely.
Messing around.
You should look at your art from when you're in elementary school, because my kids have been bringing stuff home. It's like, wow, really, you did this with in one semester? Like, they went from cubism to pointillism to like 3D sculpture to this and you think about it as like, the teacher just comes in and shows us some examples of some stuff. We're going to study this. Here are your materials. And then they just get into it, you know, and they wrestle with it and they learn along the way. I mean, it's a surface learning, but they learn technically what each style is about. And I think about that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, they're not afraid. They're just like, oh no, okay, so we're using, you know, recycled popsicle sticks, now we're just using charcoal and paper, and then now we're just cutting holes in paper and using shadow and light. And then I'm like, what? You know, so I don't think people generally are, if it's broken down into more simple forms. I think at first it's like, all we're gonna do is just like start with the basics of it, and then you can elaborate like later if you decide I'm really into this. I'm going to keep doing this for my whole life. Yes, it was like that for me in scratching. I remember the first time just being able to like, you know, and just sort of find the sound, you know, and kind of play around with the time there. I was like, oh no, you know, this changes everything in terms of no, like I'd heard it, you know, but and I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I liked it. And then when I was like, oh, that, and then all the kind of doors started to open. I was like, can you imagine like all the places like this could go just sonically at first, but then kind of as I got older and put out more albums, more like, well, it just even from a show perspective, like how can the turntable kind of be brought into this and still be kind of the ethos of it still be there for me, at least, you know, like a show like Storyville Mosquito or Nufonia Must Fall. It's like it's like a very elaborate turntable like routine for me. But then on top of that, it's like I'm playing in an audio visual band that includes like cinematographers and puppeteers and lighting people, and everybody's just like working all together, and when it works, it's like, oh wow, there's no better feeling. It's just like being in a band and just being in that groove. Or
is it as much of an undertaking as it seems to me? Like, it seems like that's a huge undertaking, those live shows.
Well, let's put it this way. When at one point we needed to bring in another cast member, and it was kind of a short turnaround because I think one of them was taking maternity leave or something, but we had to figure out how to teach that track. We call it a track. Like every person on the stage has a number of things they have to do so that every shot is in time and kind of gets done. And it's super multitasky in a way, in terms of at one point from a puppeteer's track, they might be like, okay, I start and my job is to open the elevator doors or something. Right? And then I have to go over to set 2 and turn this light on so that when we cut to that set, it's already lit. But then I have to go under the table and I have to operate, the mosquito's wing or something like that, and it's, and there's all these little things that you have to do. Everyone knows the story. Everyone knows what the scene is supposed to be, but it had to be kind of delegated into all these little weird, seemingly random tasks. So I remember Alize, who was coming into our show, she shows up at the show and it was like a stack, a little like phone book size stack of notes that she had on this huge, like, superintendent, like 3-ring binder ring with all her notes. And I was like, what is that? She's like, that's my track. I'm like, shut up. Like, how many things do you have to do? She's like, 800.
Oh, shit.
Which makes sense, like I'm working on this animated film now, and there's like over 900 shots, right? So for each shot, there was like something she had to do, like whether she was acting in the shot, like puppeteering something, or preparing the next one to be like up and running in time. So from that aspect, there's a lot of bandwidth, but oddly, like, I mean, she's been with us for a year now, and I was like, hey, what happened to that stack? Because she was literally like, okay, my next thing is I gotta run over there, and she's like, I don't need it anymore. Like, it's basically become kind of like part of
second
track. Like,
what's remarkable about that too is I imagine if one person misses just one of those things, the ripple effect is probably
but that actually adds to the humor sometimes.
Sure.
I think I always say it's like 15 of us on one surfboard. So, and it does happen like often where something goes wrong, or it's a technical issue, or like I'll get a look from the cinematographer AJ. Will be like, we need more music, like the puppeteers aren't ready, like not saying that because he's across the stage, but then I have to go look at Dave, the cellist, and be like, let's slow this down a little bit,
the improvisation.
There's room for all that, and that's actually what I love about that show, is that it's none of it could all fall apart at any second, but sometimes
that's exciting.
Exactly, that's why we have to just constantly sync and resync, and if something falls off, something might happen that's even funnier or something, like, oh, we got a really big laugh and we should almost like keep that for the next performance. And so that was kind of by design, to try to create something that we really have to be there for that show to come off well. And then I think the audience feels it too, because it's not like, all right, we're gonna hit space bar, that video goes, and then we're just gonna do this stuff. It's like, no, literally everything is like so there's been times, I remember once in Nufonia, I was one of the scenes, the robot is like has to leave the room a certain way, and then we sting it musically as he leaves, but instead of going off the right of the screen, he's like kind of moonwalking to the left. And I was kind of like, what is going on? And like, well, okay, we'll just go with this. And they're on headsets, I'm not, but they said something, and it fades to black, opens on the next shot, and then afterwards I was like, what happened? They're like, his arm fell off. It literally totally like broke, and instead of turning and exposing like all this thing, they decided to leave the other way, which wasn't where the door was, but still. And so I was like, oh, okay, I get it, So, but the audience, for the most part, I imagine, weren't like,
they don't
even know.
Hopefully, or they do, and they think it's funny, so whatever. And
well, that's the fun part about seeing live performances, is that you're gonna get an original every time. Absolutely. It's gonna be different. Nobody's gonna see the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
Twice.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a way to get to one of the shows in San Francisco. I don't know if our schedule is going to work it out, but we're trying to figure it out.
Let me know. Yeah, we're there for 2 weeks. We're doing both shows down there, actually. We're doing Nufonia.
We were looking.
I want to see so badly. Like, it just really seems like it's like probably one of those moments that when you're on your deathbed, you're like, oh, I remember seeing that
Come on
show.
down. Yeah, I got tickets for you and the kids for sure. Just let me know which one you want to go see.
It'll be so great.
Yeah.
I do have this one. I want to do this one last Sophie's Choice question
Sure.
because you're a double K, and I mean that as Kid Koala, double K. So keeping in the double K territory, which of these two double K monikered peoples do you think you'd best make a full-length album with?
Okay.
King Cruel or Cool Keith?
Wow. I'm gonna dodge that and actually say we all three of us.
That's a good
6K.
That would be great, right? Yeah, a whole. Kid Koala, King Cruel, and Cool Keith. Oh man, that's so much fire. That is
My
great.
brain already went. What would that even sound like?
It might work because I think when King Cruel was quite young, he was trying to rap before he found himself in whatever you call what he does. This kind of singing stuff. I think it would actually probably merge pretty beautifully.
It'd be great.
Well, there's definitely like an outsider element to everybody involved in terms of their approach to just making music. So I think that's probably get along on that tip at least.
I like your idea there.
Great, fantastic. Oh, you know what I do want to ask you, because you'd said Dead Alive was one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever see the movie Bad Taste?
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's one of my favorites.
I saw that after I saw Dead Alive, so in a way, it was like my introduction to Peter Jackson. It was is always the one you're gonna really like be like, oh, that's when the universe, expanded.
People who became fans of Peter Jackson from Lord of the Rings, when they go back and see those, they can't make any sense of it.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's just I saw that movie Dead Alive or Brain Dead, and then it was like, I didn't even know a movie could be this. Like Monty Python's Holy Grail also like one of those where like, I didn't know this could be a movie, and why am I so excited about what I'm seeing? I think it's because possibly, I know they're compared to like an indie film that's big budget, but I think in terms of film they're like considered lower budget. And so there's something about it that has that like, this almost kind of live. I see the duct tape in places and it's holding together, and it's super urgent to me. It's like not so polished that you're like, oh yeah, there's a whole squad of people like just fixing everything. It's like no, they probably only had this like one guy to do this like lawnmower or whatever.
I think that's what's so great about those movies, is the appreciation of that, like understanding that they didn't have the money to do all those big things, but they're still pulling it off. And you can almost see, like, you can imagine how much fun they must have been having while they were making it.
Yeah.
You can't see that in big productions. Like when you watch big productions, you can't feel the funness, for lack of a better term, that the crew is having. But with some of them independent movies, you can really feel like, I bet that was a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah, totally. Like, it's just it's just super inspirational. Still is, I had heard again, this might be heresy, but I had heard that he didn't have budget to make like prosthetic guts for the zombies, so he would drive around Wellington and like to the butchers and stuff. Like,
I
don't know.
I mean, that would
I don't
make
even
sense.
know. I don't know if that's
true.
Probably just
it's true. Yeah, it is true.
But I did remember the puppet with the kind of looked like two oven mitts. It was like the lungs kind of chasing. I was like, you made a lungs puppet.
Well, if you don't mind, real quick, we'll just do the quick answers. Here's one. In another remake of the Transformers cartoon, I mean another because they're always remaking them. Who would you prefer to do the voice for Soundwave? Eric Bana or Eric Andre?
Eric Andre doing a Soundwave? Well, I mean, it's all through a vocoder anyway. It'd probably end up sounding the same, to be honest.
That's true.
I'm going to go with Eric Andre.
Okay. Yeah. And then who would you rather have a chance to collaborate musically with in their prime? Eric Clapton or Eric Victor Burden?
Oh, House of the Rising Sun, the Animals.
Yeah, awesome.
That's mean. He's mean. The voice on? Yeah. really belts it on that one.
And then, which of these two have made better use with the Kid moniker, Kid Cudi or Kid Capri?
All right, let's go to script. That's a good question. I'm gonna stay away from this one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Too much beef in the world.
I
The
know,
last thing
I
we need is
know.
kid beef. No, but the interesting thing about kid, people say Kid Koala, is it because oh, you pick that? And part of it is there's a jazz tradition. I think they used to call people Kid, like Kid Shake or Kid Ori and stuff like that. I think I also related to that a bit too, but Koala Kid was a nickname because there was this drink that my mom would just offer everybody when you it's like she would just get it at Costco. It was like some sugary thing that I'm not endorsing, but so there'd just be empty bottles of stuff and record sleeves and all over my room. So they'd be like, Koala Kid.
Some American producers are making a Justin Trudeau biopic, and they've opted to hire a non-Canadian actor to play the role of Trudeau. They're down to two actors. Which do you think could pull it off better, Eric Roberts or Eric Stoltz?
Eric Roberts. He's the best of the best, right? Martial artist. Yeah. And didn't Justin Trudeau also do some sort of boxing or something?
Oh, he maybe, I don't know. I don't remember.
I think he used to be some sort of in the college days or something. So I would go with I would go with Eric Roberts probably.
Maybe
although I've seen more Eric Stoltz movies than Eric Roberts movies over the years, just in terms of the movies that came across my radar. But he's more best, absolutely movies. I remember that. Yeah.
This is where we normally be going into the dish segment, but we decided we want to give you more time with our guest. So we're turning the dish segment into its own thing of extra content. So tune in next week, same time, same place, with this same guest for the additional content of which the Buck65 says is one of his favorite segments of the DOD45 show, The Dish. Okay, that's that. Tune in next week for The Dish, First, Worst, and Thirsts. Now let's get back to wrapping it up with our guest. Peace. It was such an honor talking to you. It really was. I always try to keep these way shorter than they're supposed to be. It just gets so inspired. Like you said, I love hearing people speak about what they do, and it was an honor having you on.
Thanks for having me, and definitely hit me up for those San Francisco shows. Bring the family. I think you guys will have a good time.
We will. We'd love it. But hey, for new listeners, what albums of yours would you like them to start with? What do you think is going to be the best thing for them to start with? If they
depends on their mood. It depends on what the weather's like. If you need something more beatsy, I guess the most recent one has more of the kind of the drums and things. And if you need something more ambient and wintry, I guess some of the music to draw to stuff.
Yeah,
would suit that.
And then what do you prefer for people to find out what's happening from you, what's coming from you? What do you think is the best way for them
you
to
can
know?
sign on to the mailing list at kidkoala.com.
Oh, okay.
Or I do posts on the channels or whatever, occasionally. But if you want the most up to date confirmed live shows and all those things, then I'll always do. I don't spam. I just update it when there's a big chunk of news with a lot of stuff in it. But any big things the film's gonna release then, or the album's coming out here, or pre-orders and confirmed shows and stuff, I'll do that through the mailing list.
Okay. All right, that's where we'll send people. Okay,
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Such a pleasure. Yeah,
All
have a
right.
great rest of your day today.
All right, I gotta go pick up the girls from school.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Oh, I felt bad keeping them for so long.
Oh, I know. It happens all the time.
Don't go.
I didn't even, yeah.
I was like, you gotta get to this.
I know.
We're going slow.
I could just hear you in my head saying, you don't have to ask all the questions.
No, I was fascinated listening to him talk.
Me too.
I love his parents. No, I need a biologist in my life.
Well, you're the biologist in our lives.
And like his mom just busting out the crayons and then throwing together his tub.
Well, hopefully our kids will realize that you're that mom to our kids.
Oh, I really wanted to ask if his mom was ever a consultant on his puppets. I don't know if I guess he's not designing them per se, but I wonder if he's ever like, hey mom, check out what I'm thinking here.
Yeah.
I don't even know if his parents, I'm hoping they're still alive. He didn't.
I think they are.
He didn't.
Based off of things that he's posted.
Speak about them in a past tense form. So, but yeah.
Oh, you know what? Something funny. I don't know if you saw. I saw this in an interview. Someone asked him if he ever smoked cigarettes, and he said no, because his dad was in cancer research.
Oh, right, yeah.
And his dad once brought home a lung in a jar with a smoker's lung. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Oh, that was a smart move on his dad.
His parents made some good moves.
They really did. I'm very impressed by his parents.
Well, they're impressed. I mean, they of course, look at what they built something.
Well, and putting him in piano by the time he was 4, that's huge. And then it seems like even if they didn't know that they were encouraging arts, they clearly were.
Yeah.
The whole time. So wow. And I loved what he was saying about the water bottle. I've thought about that time again. Like how we take water bottles with us wherever we go. We can't leave. It's like a cell phone. You just don't even leave your house without one.
Right.
At least that's what in our household. That's the thing. But I remember my brother Jesse. He went to a Utah Jazz game with my grandpa once, and he came home with this green and orange Gatorade water bottle. And I just remember being like, that thing is fascinating. Like, you can take drinks with you places. Because we go out and we play all day. We never had a drink.
No, yeah. No, I know often when we're talking about the water thing, I do forget, like, it wasn't a thing back then. It just wasn't.
And were we even thirsty? We weren't even thirsty.
Well, see, I think that nothing's changed there. I think that's why it's still a problem, or not problem. It's still really hard to tell you kids, like, drink lots of water, because when you're younger, you just don't. But I remember reading something from a scientist or a biologist, someone said, or it was on a podcast or something. They were like, it's really kind of ridiculous, that whole drink this amount of water, because especially when you're younger, you will drink when you're thirsty.
Yeah, I guess so. But now that I take my water bottle everywhere, I'm constantly like thirsty. Like I'm thirsty just thinking about water bottles. Well, my mouth is drying out.
I have my water bottle here.
But yeah, it's a whole market. It's marketing. It's a plastic water bottles. It's these like $50 water bottles.
Well, we have when he was talking about that Mount Evian.
Evian, yeah.
We have here in Utah, we've got Mount Olympus.
But not the OG Mount Olympus.
Oh.
The knockoff Mount Olympus.
Yeah, that was great. We went on. Like what happened? We go on, like, you just get talking, like,
and we didn't even get it. I feel like
we didn't get to anything.
We didn't even. I don't even know anything.
I have so many questions to ask.
We need to have him back tomorrow, because I don't feel like. Did we learn anything?
Yes, we definitely did.
He was talking when he said Maceo, and I thought De La Soul, and am I just thinking the song, or was there actually
that's their Maceo? Yeah, he's their.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, what just happened in my brain? My brain went straight.
So you know what you're thinking of? That we just listened to the song
Maceo, what
this
goes
morning.
on?
No, but I am Maceo. I be playing.
Oh, see, no, I was doing the Maceo. What goes on? That's not the one.
Oh,
I heard.
Oh, okay. Well, he was a.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't memorize those kinds of facts.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, like, working for Sesame Street, but it's okay. One of the things that happens,
did he end up working for
he did some music score stuff
wow.
for Sesame Street.
Dreams do come true.
Yeah. And then I was talking about the blues and being an Indianola like that. Like
Oh, was he in India? Was it?
No, that's where Jim Henson's from.
And BB, right?
BB King is also from Indianola. Yeah, but what happens when you come up with things to talk about, you tend to think like, oh, I'm going to ask about this, and you're not listening to what they're saying. This episode,
you listened?
Yeah, well, I was just hearing. I was hearing you in my head going, you don't have to get to all those things, and I thought, you know what, you're right. We don't have to. I'm just happy that he's here and he's telling us his story, and that's all. His existence is interesting.
I was listening to when he was talking about Basin Street Blues, and I can just hear his version in my head. And I'm ignorant. I don't know exactly what he does. I love everything he creates, but I don't know. But like when he was talking about bending the music and coming up with all these things and it taking weeks, like I had zero clue. I figured that it's just something that he put out real easily and created. But I didn't realize that you didn't know. No, I don't know what that's.
Yeah, because you often do say I don't even know what a producer does.
Look, what is this thing right here that our mics are plugged into? I don't even know. There's all these buttons and knobs.
But what's great about it is you appreciate the music he's made without.
Yeah, that's why I said don't start baking. Just don't get interested in food stuff. You just stay in the studio and the visual art. Because you'll probably come up with some great recipes.
It definitely helps that he's just a pure joyful person to talk to too. Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Kid Koala, for spending your afternoon with us. And
one more thing.
We're not out here yet. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Kid Koala. When he said that he got stitches right here the other day or the other episode, you asked me my first stitches, and I thought it was my finger.
Yeah.
I forgot that was my first stitches
under your chin.
Yeah. When I was in preschool, a boy pushed me off the slide, and I had to get stitches right under my chin.
Who is this kid? I'll track him down right now.
I don't know.
Bust his whole head open.
I don't know. But I do remember my aunt picked me up and from the preschool when we had to go get stitches.
She took you to go get your stitches?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was my favorite aunt, so that was.
Don't say that on film. That's good.
Oh. Well, she was. I'm sorry, other aunt. She was my favorite.
None of which listen or watch our show.
Yeah, or even know I exist in the world anymore.
Yeah.
But if you didn't take me to go get my chin stitches, then you're probably not my favorite aunt.
Well, and I don't mean to brag, but my aunts listen to this show.
I know you do. I
know. Or watch the show. Oh boy. Yeah, shoot. I don't know why I'm saying shoot. I just feel really good about having him on. And we'll talk about it off air. Try to figure out how we can get over there to the show.
That was really difficult.
I mean, but I didn't realize that it was both the shows.
It would be very difficult. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Okay.
I gotta pee, and
I do
we
too.
need to eat, and we need to do.
We need to do the dish. All right. Thanks so much for chatting with us. For the new listeners, what album? Oh shit! No.
I would just, if I can make a suggestion, just type them in whatever your listening format is, and just shuffle.
And then enjoy. Yeah.
They're just all so good.
Hey, here's the finished drawing that you guys are looking at right now below. If you're new to the show, the drawing is as much as I could get done during our conversation with Kid Koala. I then later added in all that extra color and the more detailed stuff. I did that later, so it wasn't drawn in an hour, but it's always the goal to try to do it under the 45 minutes. Things you're looking at are Soundwave from Transformers. I wrote Kid Koala on his chest there. He was a tape cassette. He he turned into a little tape cassette deck, and then turned into, I think he was one of my favorites as well. I forgot about him because he's not celebrated all that much because he's not a car.
When we were listening for him to come up, now this is going to be the next episode, but when we listened for him to come up with his answer for his favorite cartoon, I could just hear that. I didn't like that show. Sorry, I don't know.
Transformers?
But I could hear it. Transformers.
More than meets.
In my head, and that was my cue. Okay.
Oh, you're checking out?
I'm out of here. I'm going outside to catch snakes.
So up here in the hand, I didn't even know if you noticed, but up here in Soundwave's hand is Thelonious Monk sitting at a stand-up piano.
Oh, cool.
Thelonious Monk is one of Kid Koala's favorites. I wanted to talk to him. Yeah, I was going to ask him I just wanted to ask him some bit about Thelonious Monk, because I'm a big Thelonious Monk fan as well. I thought that would have been good conversation, but again, we had plenty. We'll just have to try to get him on again. And then Kid Koala said he loved the Mantis Shrimp, so that's what I've drawn here. This character, this robot, is a Kid Koala original creation. What's his name? This robot?
I don't know. I've seen it on his posts.
And then he also said he liked what kind of
chameleon?
Chameleons, yeah. So I turned it into a little record head chameleon. And then from his show, the Mosquito Storyville, this is their puppet, the mosquito. And then he also said dead again or dead alive, brain dead. It's a Peter Jackson movie. That's what I've drawn here in the poster there. So, and then he's a DJ, so that's why I put the little stylus. Record stylus as the character's hand. His original character doesn't have that. So there you go. There's the drawing. All right. Let's do some recommendations and then we'll get out of here. My movie share for today is a movie called Chappie. That's a movie from 2015 starring Hugh Jackman, Sigourney Weaver, and Dev Patel, who I just watched in the movie Monkey Man.
Is it Hugh or Huge Jackman?
It's Hugh Jackman. Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, or Hugh Jass. Do you know Hugh Jass?
Yeah.
No, his name is Hugh, and his last name is Jackman. Dev Patel, I just watched a movie called Monkey Man, which is a really cool movie, actually. I think I really enjoyed it. And you just, while we were on the plane flying over here today, or yesterday, we were watching The Life of Pi.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that movie Chappie was pretty good.
What does that I have to do with it?
Well, because this Dev Patel is in this movie Chappie.
Oh, okay.
Chappie's a near futuristic, so it's not super far into the future, but it's a futuristic movie that takes place in Johannesburg, South Africa, where mechanized police officers use aggressive police force to patrol the streets, but the people start fighting back. One of the police droids is stolen and given new programming, and that's the character Chappie. He starts to get the ability to feel and think for himself. And as he's starting to figure human behavior out on a deeper level, the authorities start to see him as a danger to mankind and to order. So that's where shit hits the fan, and the authorities decide they'll stop at nothing to ensure that Chappie is the last of his kind. I went with a robot movie because I was thinking of Kid Koala's robot story, and I remember really kind of digging this movie. So that's why I'm referring it or suggesting it today. It's the first time I discovered Dia Antwoord. That's do you know who they are? They're Cape Town rappers Yolandi and Ninja. They're out of Cape Town. They play the ruffians in this movie. They're a couple of really interesting individuals. Dia Antwoord's really kind of cool music, in and out with their music. I got into Dia for a while, but in late 2022, they were facing some serious allegations. I have no idea what happened with all of that, but I just started to lose interest in their music anyway. But anyway, I was really intrigued with Yolandi in this movie Chappie. I think she does kind of a cool job. She's an interesting character. Anyway, I think the movie's a solid production. The effects of the robot Chappie is really impressive. So if you find yourself scrolling, I'd say you can stop and hit play on Chappie. With so much movie content access, I hate to say it, but the bar's been set to this low. The 2-hour movie is more entertaining than 2 hours of scrolling. So I say, check out Chappie. My song share for today is a song called Sheesh by Little Monarch.
Sheesh, I polish up real nice. Main character energy, please put me on, talk me up, kill the noise, leave all the good
stuff. She's someone I discovered on Instagram a while ago, and I don't know, her music's just kind of chill. It's like this cool, chill summer, super chill kind of jam. Especially this song, Sheesh. And she posted this video on Instagram, and it's not the official video, but it's like a lyric video for this new song, Sheesh. And that's what I'm showing you right now. It was kind of, I don't know, it just caught me as interesting. So that's why I wanted to share her song and share her music. Speaking of music, our shares, subscribe to the DOD45 song share playlist on Spotify called DOD45 Loves, LUVS. Adrian, what is your song share for today?
Well, I came unprepared, and I don't know which of these I want to choose. But I think I'll go with this oldie that I just have always loved by So-So.
Ooh, what song?
The Goose Hunter Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
I just heard some geese outside today too. So
yeah, and that song starts off with the geese, and
you just did a chill one, so I'll keep it chill.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so there you go. There's our song shares. Okay, be sure to pick up
a fellow Canadian, right?
Yes, no, he's English. Maybe he's out of Canada. Oh, he is. You're right. I think he's from.
Is that what they say? A.
That's another
fellow
Canadian.
A. Is that? Should I not be doing that?
I don't think anyone really cares. I think they do say A, and I think they do say a boot. Be sure to pick up Kid Koala's music and merch, especially Creatures of the Late Afternoon. That's this vinyl here. That's his latest vinyl. It also doubles as a board game. You can get that all at kidkoala.com. Middle finger to X, Twitter rags at DOD45 Show. Subscribe to our DOD45 song player. Shayla, I just said that. Blah, 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 blah. The reason we do that song share playlist, I know it's on Spotify. So what I would like to say is if you like any of the songs in there, be sure to support the musicians of the music through their band camps or through their merch or tangible goods, or just send them money and let them know you're thankful for their art, which is their music. We do that song share playlist so you can listen to that music, but most importantly, just point out people whose music we'd love to continue to hear being made. And the only way they can keep making more music is if you're helping support them financially.
We got it.
All right. If you like the drawing I did in this episode,
I say that in the nicest way possible. Sorry.
If you like the drawing I did you're okay. If you like the drawing that I've done in this episode and you're not following me already, go follow my art at ArtByTai on Instagram, and you can buy my artwork at ArtByTai.com. If you go to DOD45.com, you can buy prints of every drawing that I have done during the DOD45 episodes. So do that. You can also see the drawings themselves at DOD45W on Instagram. Join us next week, same time, same place, for the extended content of this episode with this guest, Kid Koala, his The Dish. That's where he'll reveal his first worsts and thirsts. So next week, same time, same place with Kid Koala's Dish. Like, share, subscribe, review, all that shit. It helps us land future guests. You do that for us, we'll keep these episodes ad-free. Adrian, final words? Goodbye from all of us here. I'd like to wish you happy drawing, happy conversing. Thanks for conspiring with us. And pick up after your pets, people, please. Peace.
DOD45.
Thank you for joining in on yet another episode of the DOD45 Show. Please hit the subscribe or follow button so that you never miss an episode. You can even go one step further by leaving us a review on the YouTube stream or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever it is that you stream our show from. You can find me at ArtByTai on all the socials or at ArtByTai.com. And if you'd like to follow the DOD45 Show on social media, we're at DOD45W on Instagram, or you can go over to our website at DOD45.com where you can shoot us an email, join our mailing list, and watch all of our past episodes. Consider joining us for a live chat on the YouTube premieres of episodes every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace.